The Book of Ruth is largely centered around two women, Ruth and Naomi. But most of the time when we hear the story of Ruth, Ruth immediately captures our attention. We remember her loyalty, her courage, how she left her country and her people to follow Naomi, and how she eventually became part of the lineage of Jesus. But today, I want us to look at the woman behind Ruth, Naomi, because there are powerful lessons we can learn from her life. Naomi's story begins with a family that left Bethlehem because of famine. Her husband, Elimelech, took Naomi and their 2 sons to Moab. But while they were in Moab, tragedy struck. Elimelech died. Then Naomi's 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, also died. Naomi suddenly found herself without her husband and without her 2 sons. And at that point, Naomi made a decision that I believe every one of us needs to learn from. She decided to go home. She heard that the Lord had visited his people and given them food, and she arose to return to Bethlehem. She could have remained in Moab. She could have allowed her pain to convince her that there was nothing left for her, but she chose to return. And this reminds me of the story of the prodigal son. There comes a point when you have to make a decision. I will arise and go back to my father. Maybe you've gone far. Maybe you have made mistakes. Maybe life has taken you into places you never intended to go. Maybe you feel like you have lost too much to return. But Naomi's story reminds us home is still there. God is still calling you back. No matter how far you have gone, do not allow shame, pain, or disappointment to keep you away from God. Choose to go back home. But there is another lesson from Naomi that deeply challenges me. Look at the relationship she had with her daughters-in-law. As Naomi prepared to return to Bethlehem, she told Ruth and Orpah to go back to their mother's homes. And initially, both women wanted to go with her. Think about that. Naomi was a widow. She had lost her husband and her 2 sons. She had no wealth and no obvious future to offer these women. Yet, these women were willing to leave their homeland and accompany her. And Ruth eventually made one of the most powerful declarations of loyalty recorded in Scripture. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. What kind of relationship did Naomi have with Ruth? For Ruth to make such a declaration, Naomi was grieving. Naomi was hurting. Naomi even described herself as bitter. Yet, somehow, through her life, Ruth had encountered something about Naomi's God that made her willing to leave everything behind and follow him. And this should make us pause. What do people encounter about God when they encounter us? Can the people around us see Christ in the way we love? Can they see him in the way we respond to pain? Can they see him in the way we treat people who cannot give us anything in return? Naomi had lost almost everything, but she had not lost her ability to influence a soul. She may have left Moab grieving, but she did not leave without making an eternal impact. Ruth left Moab with her, and Ruth did not merely follow Naomi. She followed Naomi's God. That is powerful. Sometimes we think our influence only counts when we are strong, successful, and everything is going well. But Naomi teaches us something different. Even in seasons of pain, our lives can still point people toward God. Your pain does not cancel your purpose. Your broken season does not mean you have nothing to offer. Someone may be watching how you respond to your difficult season. Someone may be learning what God is like by watching how you live. So, what are people learning about God from you? There is another beautiful thing about Naomi. She was not selfish. When Ruth returned to Bethlehem with her, Naomi could have simply focused on having Ruth around to help her survive. But instead, Naomi began thinking about Ruth's future. She wanted Ruth to have security. She wanted Ruth to have a home. She wanted Ruth to be established. And eventually, Naomi became part of the process through which Ruth found Boaz. Naomi did not think only about what Ruth could do for her. She thought about what she could do to help Ruth's life become better. And that is another lesson for us. True love does not ask only, how can this person help me? True love also asks, how can I help this person become who God created them to be? Naomi's life was not perfect. She experienced loss. She experienced disappointment. She became bitter. But her story did not end in bitterness. God was still writing her story. The woman who thought she had returned empty would eventually hold Ruth's son, Obed, in her arms. The woman who thought her story was over became part of the story of redemption. And perhaps that is one of the greatest lessons from Naomi. Your current chapter is not necessarily the end of your story. You may feel empty today. You may feel forgotten. You may feel like everything you built has been taken away. But God can still bring something beautiful out of a season that looks completely broken. So like Naomi, go home. Like Naomi, keep your heart open to God. Like Naomi, let your life point others toward Him, even in your pain. And like Naomi, seek the good of the people God has placed around you. Because sometimes you may not realize it, but someone is watching your life and learning what it means to follow God. Naomi may not have been the person whose name immediately captured our attention. But without Naomi, there may never have been Ruth as we know her. And that reminds us, you may not always be the person in the spotlight, but your influence can shape someone's destiny. If this video blessed you, like, subscribe, and share.